Hey everyone, face reveal if you haven't seen me before. This video is going to be an announcement for two things. The first is going to be a free giveaway to the patrons for making a Roman popina paper diorama in your own home. And the second announcement is going to be the launching of a store where we'll be having some cool merch. So let me talk briefly about kind of these two items. So first, kind of why am I doing this? Well, the first is because I just have a lot of creative energy that's always bubbling within me. I've always been one to create things for myself, for friends and family. And with our recent episode on Roman fast food restaurants, it kind of bubbled into my mind, oh, that would be so cool. What would I do for a Roman fast food chain back in the time? So I started doodling, and I ended up creating some logos and designs. I was like, well, this is too cool to just put in, 10 seconds of the video like we did. And so what I decided to do, and some of you requested this, was to spin it off into merchandise as if these stores were real. So that was kind of the impetus behind that. And I was like, well, let's take it one step further. And I Googled around for popinas and I actually found a papercraft diorama. So now not only can you create, can you buy the merchandise for the actual Roman theoretical store, you can actually build the store yourself. And this is really cool. So how does this work? Well, this is a papercraft diorama. So I found actually the source online. I didn't create the base for this. The setup, kind of the scaling and the folding and all that stuff, that was created by someone else. But what I did is I took their base template and then I painted over it using assets from 2 Minute Tabletop, which some of you may recognize. He's an awesome creator who does a lot of stuff more D&D related for creating maps and cartography, which I use on, when I'm doing my D&D stuff, which we haven't talked about yet. But anyways, I used a lot of his assets and some of my own paintbrushing to create this custom, awesome looking diorama of a Roman popina. This one is going to be Caesar's grill, so you can see the logo here. There's all sorts of little stuff, details, the detachable bar here with logos and different things on top of it, and it's really cool. So I created a whole version that's based around Caesar's grill. But one of the cool things about having this be digital is that actually I can create different versions and you can print and choose which ones you want. So for instance, here I have a base version, which is, this is what it looks like to build and fold out the snack bar. And so, there'll be instructions on where to cut, where to fold and all that. And this is the base version. So before you do that, you could doodle in your own designs, or you could take this in to Paint or Photoshop or whatever, plaster your own designs onto it and then create it. So I wanted to create some base versions. And then I'll also be providing some custom versions like this one that you saw here. So some instances, the base here for the actual popina itself, the street, there's like an autumn theme with some leaves and puddles. There's another one that's more Egyptian themed that has, sand, it has a scorpion. So all kinds of cool stuff like that I'll be providing you just to get started. And I'll show some glory shots of this thing. It's really cool. And probably towards the end of the video, we'll dive into what it looks like to actually build this thing. I'll show a little bit of the steps. But I had a lot of fun. It was a really cool DIY project. And so that was the main impetus for this video, was to share that with you. So that's the major popina. Again, we'll be making the PDF download available to the patrons. So go ahead and check that out in the link below. So you can head on over there. And the second thing is obviously going to be the merch store. So I am wearing one of the shirts. It's just, gold on black Invicta. We also have a silver version of this. I think it looks really cool, neat, professional, but maybe you don't want something like this. And we have a couple different options. Again, all themed around this Roman fast food. So the first one is going to be Caesar's grill. This is an early version of the design, actually, that just says Caesar's. We've updated it based off your guys' feedback and my own kind of tinkering, but you can see it's really cool. It's a foreboding looking Caesar with his sword through a pig of Gaul, presumably, after his conquests. And instead of going on to become dictator of Rome, he decided to start a chain restaurant, and his tagline being, "Fortune flavors the bold." And actually, I have a back design that's available on the website that actually shows a map of Caesar's conquest, but instead of conquest, it says, coming to a village near you, as if these are all the locations of the restaurants. So yeah, we have like a Caesar's version. We also have another version here that is for Cato. And so this one is Cato's Salt Shop. Some of you guys may get this immediately. A little clue as to what's going on here is it says Carthago delenda est. The main idea being that Cato was a Roman statesman in, during the Punic Wars. He had it out for Carthage and wanted them to be destroyed. No matter what speech he gave, he would always end the speech saying, and furthermore, Carthage must be destroyed. And in Latin, this is Carthago delenda est. And so you combine all of that with the fact that later when the Romans did destroy Carthage, there's a legend that supposedly they salted the land. So this is Cato with his fever dream of destroying Carthage. and having plenty of salt that maybe he opened a restaurant with later. And so yeah, these are cool designs. There's more. There's another one that we have, Mark and Cleo's Aspirational Baking. Asp being the name of a snake that Cleopatra actually killed herself in a Romeo and Juliet situation. But maybe in this alt history where she starts a restaurant, that didn't happen, and instead her and Mark Antony set up a shop, a bakery. So anyways, they're cool, cutesy designs that I think are really neat. This one is perhaps my favorite. And a cool thing is we actually had feedback from one of you to change it to say, instead of Carthago delenda est, to change it to zest, as if it's like a cooking term. So that is actually now in the official version, and you can get the shirts in different colors. I'll be looking to get feedback from you guys for how you'd like me to tweak these. Some of the backs on these are blank for now, and so I'd love ideas on how we can tailor these. So these will be kind of evolving designs, and I'd love to share those with you. And then as we keep going with different episodes, I'll be putting up kind of more content based off those episodes. So I think that's my plan moving forward. And again, this all stems from me just kind of overflowing with ideas and wanting to share it with you. So yeah, that's it for kind of the pitch. So go ahead and check out the store and the Patreon for links to all of those. And now I will kind of end the video just by showing off the popina and the steps it took to create this bad boy. So yeah, let's head on over. And welcome to my workspace where I created the Roman popina there. You can see the final model looking very glorious. And in this section of the video, I'm just going to talk a bit about what you need to get started. I'm not going to give you a full, fast forward time lapse of the whole thing, just enough to get you going. And again, check out Patreon to get the download. So what will you need? Well, the first thing is this is a paper diorama. So first you're going to need paper, and you're going to need to print out the sheets that are required. There's a whole bunch of different ones in the PDF. Make sure that you select all the ones that are all for the different components, but feel free to customize and choose which ones you want to use in your particular build. The paper that you want to print on should not be standard paper. You want it to be a little thicker. So you can see here this has a little bit more stiffness to it. So you want to use cardstock, pretty thick, but not too thick. I think I used around 100 pound. I think that's the right terminology, 80 to 100 pound cardstock. So that'll do the trick. It still prints and it's still able to be bent and folded as needed. So I think that's roughly where you want to end up. And then just print the standard PDF as it comes, 8.5 by 11, or whatever scale you choose, just make it uniform and it'll come out pretty good. So that's it for printing. So get that all done. Then what you'll need is the materials to, cut, build, and assemble all this. So the first thing you'll need is going to be an X-Acto knife, and you can pick this up pretty much anywhere. Very easy to get this at a craft store, and of course with an X-Acto knife this cuts paper and cardboard very, very well, but you're going to want to get a backboard, a cutting board, so definitely recommend those two in conjunction. It's also useful to have a ruler that can be used just for guiding you a little bit, and it actually helps make some of the creases on the papers themselves. And then finally, when it comes to joining the material, I highly recommend tacky glue. This stuff is great. It dries clear, it sticks super fast, and you only have to hold it a little bit in order to get it to adhere, and then you can let go and it is set. So this was great. You can use other products. Some people might even try and use glue sticks, but I definitely don't recommend that. This gives you the precision that you need, the stickiness that you need immediately, and on top of that, it's transparent. So yeah, a lot of bonuses to tacky glue. And yeah, that's basically all you need to get started. I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit of this just when it comes to, let's take a page in question. So for instance here, what you're going to want to do is look at the page, and the way to read this is essentially, of course, this is what is going to become your building component. So this piece here is the detached wall section that's out front. And so as you can see, it's going to turn into a cube of sorts. And basically how to read this is these are going to be the different faces, and then anytime you have a big thick vertical line like that, oftentimes changing color or pattern, that means you're going to turn a corner. So those are going to be important. The other things down here is don't cut these, don't cut linearly. You're going to want to make sure that you cut along these black lines, because these are going to be elements that get folded over that help the paper adhere to itself. So that's the main guiding principle. Another thing as well that you'll have to keep in mind is as you're building these elements, sometimes the cuts aren't super clear. So this is a good example. You would think that when I'm cutting this, I just want to follow the outline. But one thing to note is think about how things are going to fold. So this face here folds down. It's going to become the face, in front of the holes here. which means that if it's going to fold, I also need to cut this segment here. Same thing goes with this little bar. I need to cut along this line all the way to the start here. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is take a look at your sheet, take a look at the 3D model, and think the process through to see where do I cut, where do I fold, because otherwise you can find yourself in a tricky situation. So order of operations is definitely key, so think it out. But for the most part, this is the most complex, the rest become quite easy. And I'm just going to show you this here real quick. So for instance, let's say that I want to cut this piece out. Let me go ahead and just do a broad cut just to get my section going. And you'll notice with the X-Acto knife, super quick and easy. And now I'm going to go through and just do the major cuts. And there you go, so pretty easy. Now that you have your main shape cut out, you'll notice some of the things that I did along the cutting process, doing the major cuts first, long lines, and then finally coming in and finessing some of the details around the corners. And again, the X-Acto knife makes this very easy, and use a cutting board so you don't damage anything at home. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to start folding this guy, and there's all sorts of elements. I found that it's probably best to start folding kind of from the inside and then going out. And so we'll go ahead and start doing that. Often it's good to have a sort of surface that you can use to create that crease. So for instance here, I can go ahead and line this up with the edge of my history ruler. And once I'm at that point, then I can go ahead and give it a fold. And often it's good to do this at the edge of a table. And there's probably other instruments. If you guys are veterans of papercraft dioramas, let me know if there's a better method for this. But I found that just, start with an initial crease, then fold it to the outside here, and there you go. Now we have our fold. And we're going to go ahead and do that along the length of this section. There you have it. So now I've done all the major folds, and you can start to see it's going to create my box. Now the next thing I want to do is start to bend in the tabs, so let's go ahead and start doing that. Alright, there you have it. So now we have all the surfaces properly tabbed up and they're going to be ready to be folded down. I'm going to show you this before we put the glue. You probably want to do a check just to make sure do all my folds work and make sense. So there you go, I've compressed it together, and that would be there, that standalone section. Now what I can do is go ahead and put the glue just to show you that process, but this is pretty much done at this point. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to break out the tacky glue, and I'm going to just go ahead and put it on the outside. This does dry clear, but usually I like to go a little bit light, so I'll do one pass, then spread it out a bit more. And then I'm just going to do that on all the surfaces that are going to make contact. Going to be doing the rounds. And this does dry pretty quick, so you don't want to dally for too long. And these ones at the base would be what joins it to the ground. I'm not going to be doing that, so we'll skip it. So it's basically just going to be the four at the top. So I'm going to start here on the outside, make sure that I get my alignment. I'm going to go in and tuck the top. And there we go. Press and hold. This thing's coming along quite well. And let's make sure that I pay special attention to the edge here, so that when it comes out you can't see too much of the join. And there you have it. The tacky glue will need another minute or so to set, but it's holding pretty well, and I can place this down and it's good to go. So you're just going to rinse and repeat for the whole process. Now I do have to say, you should expect this to take a good afternoon, especially when it comes to the center counter. Don't fret, don't freak out, take it piecemeal, put some chill music on, maybe watch HBO Rome or some of my own videos, And yeah, you'll be well on your way. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and again, like I said, I'm eager to do more of these, so leave me feedback, send some pictures on how your build turned out, and I'm excited to see it. So thank you so much, see you in the next one.